A nation enters crisis. Almost immediately, attention turns outward. A foreign country is blamed. A political group becomes dangerous. A minority becomes suspicious. An ideology becomes the threat. And suddenly, millions of people who once disagreed with each other become emotionally united, not through love, not through peace, but through a shared enemy. Why? Why do human beings repeatedly divide the world into us and them throughout history? And why do societies so often become stronger, louder, and more emotionally connected during conflict? For thousands of years, human beings survived in tribes, small groups competing for land, food, safety, resources. Back then, identifying enemies quickly mattered. A dangerous outsider could threaten survival itself. So the human brain evolved to think tribally. Who belongs? Who does not? Who can be trusted? Who is dangerous? This instinct became deeply embedded in human psychology. Humans naturally seek belonging. People want identity, protection, community meaning, and one of the fastest ways to create unity is through opposition. An enemy creates emotional clarity. Suddenly, differences inside the group matter less. People unite because they share something to fear or fight against. This pattern appears throughout all of history. Nations unite during war. Political movements rise through outrage. Religions strengthen against opposition. Even sports create tribal identities. Winners, rivals, enemies. Because conflict emotionally activates human beings powerfully. Perhaps this is why anger spreads so quickly socially. Fear and outrage are emotionally contagious. One angry crowd can influence thousands. One political conflict can divide entire societies. And once tribal thinking begins, logic often weakens, because tribal emotion feels stronger than individual reasoning. Psychologists call part of this social identity theory. Humans build identity partly through group membership, nationality, politics, religion, culture, ideology, and once people emotionally attach themselves to groups, criticism of the group can feel personal. An attack on us becomes an attack on identity itself. This explains why humans sometimes defend groups irrationally. Facts become less important than loyalty, because belonging historically affected survival. The brain still carries those ancient instincts. Modern politics understands this extremely well. Fear mobilizes people faster than calmness. A politician who creates enemies creates emotional energy, because frightened or angry populations become easier to unite and direct. Throughout history, leaders repeatedly used enemies to gain power, create loyalty, justify control, distract populations, and humans repeatedly respond emotionally. Social media intensified this dramatically. Platforms reward outrage because outrage captures attention. Conflict spreads faster than peace. Anger generates comments, reactions, and engagement. And algorithms quietly learn something dangerous. Humans pay enormous attention to enemies. This creates digital tribalism. People separate into online groups constantly. Political tribes, ideological tribes, cultural tribes, and each group increasingly views the other as dangerous, stupid, or immoral. Nuance disappears. Complex people become simplified enemies. Perhaps this reveals something uncomfortable about human nature. Humans do not only unite through love and cooperation. Sometimes humans unite most powerfully through shared hatred. A common enemy creates identity, purpose, emotional intensity, belonging, very quickly. There is another darker side to enemies too. Scapegoating. When societies struggle economically or emotionally, humans often search for someone to blame. A group becomes responsible for frustration. And once fear combines with tribal thinking, ordinary people can support cruelty they would normally reject individually. History repeatedly proves this. Yet humans also need conflict psychologically for another reason. Meaning. Conflict creates emotional importance. A battle feels meaningful. A cause feels meaningful. An enemy creates direction. Without opposition, many people feel psychologically lost. This is partly why outrage culture became so addictive online. Anger creates emotional stimulation. People feel alive when fighting something. But enemies also simplify reality artificially. Complex social problems become their fault, our side, good versus evil. And this simplification feels emotionally comforting, because uncertainty is psychologically uncomfortable. Enemies provide clarity, even false clarity. Perhaps this is why peace is often harder to maintain than conflict. Peace requires patience, complexity, compromise, and empathy. Conflict requires only emotion, and human beings are highly emotional creatures. Still, tribalism itself is not automatically evil. Human beings naturally seek groups and belonging. The danger begins when identity becomes dependent on hatred toward outsiders, because once humans stop seeing enemies as people, cruelty becomes easier. And maybe that is the deepest danger of all. Not that humans have enemies, but that humans often need enemies emotionally in order to feel united, purposeful, and certain about who they are. So perhaps the real question is not, why do human beings create enemies? Perhaps the deeper question is, can human beings ever build strong identities without needing someone else to fear, hate, or blame? Because throughout history, some of humanity's greatest acts of unity emerged from shared dreams, but some of its darkest moments emerged from shared enemies.